So guys, I'm going to be getting into a secret for you guys. A esoteric secret and a mundane esoteric secret. This will not be a tarot reading, but I'm pretty sure you guys will find it very insightful. However, I do have a tarot card here, the Star, for a reason. You know, the Star card represents Aquarius, right? You know, people associate Aquarius with weird things from aliens, you know, like for either having a lot of friends or having a few friends, you know, but there's definitely an esoteric message here with this star, this naked female, because the Star card always has a naked female, you know what I mean? Usually has the artwork. And it's very fitting for Aquarius, right? Because Aquarius is known as the water bearer. But an esoteric secret is that the water that Aquarius is holding, the water bearer, is actually other people's emotions, other people's preconceived notions, ideas, beliefs. You know what I mean? That's what Aquarius is holding. They're not holding their emotions. They're not holding their beliefs. They're actually holding other people's beliefs. So, I mean, this is going to be interesting. I never done anything like this. So definitely, guys, you know, give me time to explain. But it's really interesting that people, like, say that Aquarius are weird. You know what I mean? That they're, like, star children and all that sort of shit, when Aquarius is actually the most normal out of all the astrology signs. And to be honest, they're actually the most human out of all the astrology signs. You know what I mean? The thing with Aquarius is that people are triggered by the norm. And I'll explain. It's deep that the star has a naked female, right? Because it's like the naked form provokes different emotions, you know, from being aroused, you know, like some people are repulsed, you know what I mean? Some people are disgusted. Not just that, the human form comes in different varieties, you know, shapes, sizes, heights. You know, some people's skin are pristine, while other people's skin can be discolored, have moles on it, have stretch marks, all sorts of different sort of like looks to the human form, right? And it's interesting though, all of that shit is normal. All of that shit isn't awkward. You know what I mean? People just make it awkward. Again, that's what Aquarius is holding. People's awkward feelings, their own awkward emotions. The truth of the matter is that Aquarius, them on a mundane level, they have nothing to do with aliens. Their personalities isn't so crazy. You know what I mean? We also have to look at the polarity in this situation because, you know, Aquarius polar opposite is Leo. You know what I mean? Leo represents just like this big personality, like color, excitement, vibrancy. The truth of the matter is that that's Aquarius polar opposite, right? So that means that all of that weirdness is in Leo. But when you actually look at the end of the stick, the opposite end of the stick, that's Aquarius, they're actually not crazy. They're not weird. They're not none of that. You know what I mean? The reason why people mention the whole alien shit, because it has to do with how we got here, how we develop. That's the actual esoteric secret behind it all. But I'm going to be focusing more on the mundane situation because it's kind of just like Aquarius don't necessarily do anything weird. I mean, if any of you guys are Aquarius, definitely, you know, mention like how you guys feel in the comment section, or if you know any Aquarius, you know, because it's kind of just like they're not weird at all. And my apology for the loud Mexican music. If you guys hear it, sometimes the phone edits sound out. But, you know, it's like actually like 2 or 3 a.m. These people are very inconsiderate, but it is what it is. And they're blasting that shit really loud too. But back to the point. people make a big deal out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like when people see a naked body, like a female that might be like, you know what I mean? She might have hyperpigmentation, her boobs might be saggy, her skin might be crepey. You know, people are just like, oh, that's so awful. That's like the worst thing ever. But in actuality, that shit is pretty natural. You know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is. So it's the same thing with Aquarius. You know, we have to understand that things are inverted in this world at this time being, especially that there's a lot of illusions and falsities. But it definitely rings true with this sign, right? Because people talk about Aquarius being a social sign, but that's because they're carrying other people's emotions, other people's beliefs. You know, water represents sort of like emotions. You know what I mean? It's a vibration, it's a feeling. They're carrying people's feelings and emotions. It's not their own, again. So it's kind of just like, that's why people equate it to being social, when the actuality of the whole situation is that they're just carrying other people's bullshit, other people's baggage. You know what I mean? Again, this sign isn't weird. This sign isn't awkward. It's just people making it more than what it needs to be. And I don't know if that's necessarily much of a mystery. Again, this is kind of just like my first video explaining this shit. It's kind of just like, you know how you have so much knowledge and so much understanding, but you know, when you're doing something for the first time, you don't know how to necessarily explain it. So maybe I'm not doing the best job. My apology. But yeah, I'm going to try to do the best I can, you know. So bear with me here, you know. But it's interesting, right? It's kind of just like the whole Kanye situation, right? People say that like Kanye is a genius in everything he does. And, you know, maybe his music, right? I'll give him credit for that. His music can be genius, right? But besides that, everything else is trash. From his philosophical beliefs, from his sort of like fashion, everything that's outside of music is garbage, right? But again, it has to do with other people, like Aquarius. It has to do with other people's beliefs. It's kind of just like, it has to do with popularity. You know, popularity doesn't necessarily mean that shit's legit. Excuse me, I have to clear my throat. Yeah, so popularity doesn't necessarily mean legit. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that it's truthful as well. So you have to understand that Aquarius, because it's the circulatory system, that's the all-encompassing energy. You know what I mean? That's what Aquarius rules over. You know what I mean? So again, it does rule over the masses, right? But I mean, you know, it is what it is. I ain't trying to be harsh, but the masses, they're pretty ignorant, you know? They're really ignorant a lot of the time. You know, like think of like the story with the emperor's new clothes. You know, it's kind of just like if something's said enough, or if people are saying like, yo, this is to be accepted, then people are going to believe it en masse. And it goes back to the Kanye thing. You know, it's kind of like he created great music, but now everyone believes like, okay, since this dude creates great music, he's a genius. You know what I mean? It's the same thing like with the Aquarius. It's kind of just like, they're the most plain people out of all the zodiac signs. But it's kind of just like people are making it more than what it is. You know what I mean? Now you have like a whole belief going around where you have astrologers and people saying like, oh, yo, like Aquarius are like so like deep and weird, when it's not true. Again, it goes back to the whole duality and polarity, because we know that Saturn rules and governs over Aquarius and Capricorn, right? The truth of the matter is that Capricorn is actually a awkward sign. You know what I mean? It's actually a very mystical sign as well. You know what I mean? It goes into like spirituality, like mysticism. You know what I mean? But with Aquarius, you don't actually get that. They're actually really plain. Again, its polar opposite is Leo. Leo is the one that has like all that character, personality, and weirdness. Aquarius is actually muted. They don't have that vibe. So it's kind of just like, I mean, we got to put things into perspective, you know? And again, this is like my first time explaining these things. You know, I want to get into it more deeper. It's kind of just like when you do the first thing, like, you know what I mean? Something's like new from riding a bike, you're not necessarily great or good at it. But this is just like a taste of like me getting into this whole situation. So guys, definitely tell me what you think. You know, there's some deep mysteries and deep shit going on in this world, and it's a lot of deep shit going on, you know, but I definitely want to explore some of the zodiac signs, you know what I mean, and kind of like enlighten people on the truth of different things, you know. But the truth of this is that Aquarius, they're not weird, they're not aliens, they're not mystical. They're actually the most plain you're going to get out of all the zodiac signs. You know what I mean? The reason why people associate them with aliens is because of, you know, some people say that we were seeded here from aliens and all of that. It goes back to that sort of situation. You know what I mean? Because again, Aquarius represents social energy, right? But we know that society, it's under delusion at the moment, so there's a lot of falsehoods, and it's definitely a falsehood with, you know, people trying to make Aquarius more complicated than what they are. So I'm going to leave it here. Guys, definitely tell me what you think. You know, it's some deep shit.